The moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto that court, you could feel the tension boiling in the building. The boos rained down. The crowd was hostile. The pressure was suffocating. And standing on the other side of that storm was Angel Reese, fired up, locked in, ready for war. This wasn't just another WNBA game. This was pride versus pride, ego versus ego, noise versus silence. Social media had already crowned this matchup as another chapter in the most toxic rivalry in women's basketball. Angel Reese walked in with confidence, with swagger, with that familiar energy that says, "This is my stage." But tonight, the script was about to flip in the most brutal way possible, because while the crowd screamed against her, Caitlin Clark didn't flinch. She didn't complain. She didn't duck the smoke. She absorbed it, and then she did the one thing that shuts everybody up. She started scoring. From deep, from impossible angles, under constant pressure. Every bucket was a message. Every three was a warning. Every assist was a reminder that this wasn't hype anymore. This was history in motion. By the end of the night, the boos were gone. The excuses were finished. And Angel Reese was forced to watch. Caitlin Clark turned that hostile arena into her personal highlight reel with a career-high performance that the WNBA will be talking about 4 years. This rivalry didn't start in the WNBA. It wasn't built on one game, one foul, or one glance. This fire was lit long before the league ever saw them, back when college gyms were overflowing, when cameras followed every step, when fans picked sides like it was a cultural war. Caitlin Clark became the symbol of range, vision, precision, the shooter who pulled from the logo and made defenses look helpless. Angel Reese became the symbol of dominance, swagger, power, the rebounder who talked, flexed, and dared the world to challenge her crown. 2 stars, 2 styles, 1 spotlight. Their clash in college shifted women's basketball forever. Ratings exploded. Conversations turned toxic. Every matchup became personal. For some fans, Clark represented pure basketball brilliance. For others, Reese represented raw confidence and fearless energy. And neither fanbase ever backed down. Every interview, every stat line, every social post poured gasoline on the rivalry. The narrative stopped being about teams. It became about legacy. When they entered the WNBA, the expectations were brutal. Caitlin Clark arrived with impossible pressure. Sell out arenas. Carry a franchise. Save the league. Angel Reese arrived with a chip on her shoulder, drafted lower than many expected, determined to prove she belonged at the top. From day one, everything they did was compared. Points, rebounds, assists, endorsements, ticket sales. Even crowd reactions became part of the scoreboard. Clark's game translated instantly. Logo threes, no-look passes, double teams that didn't matter. The stats piled up fast, and so did the attention. Reese's transition was rockier. Physical battles inside, missed layups under pressure. Critics questioned her offense while admitting her rebounding motor never stopped. Every struggle became a headline. Every good night was treated like a fluke. The media didn't just analyze their games. They turned it into a daily debate. Then came the noise. The crowds became louder. The chants became uglier. Some arenas cheered Reese like a villain. Others booed Clark the moment she touched the ball. Every road game felt like a playoff war. The rivalry stopped being just about basketball. It became emotional, personal, political, and neither player could escape it. Angel Reese leaned into the storm. She talked about doubters, about disrespect, about motivation. She posted confidence online and brushed off criticism with a smile that dared the world to keep talking. Caitlin Clark did the opposite. She didn't explain. She didn't clap back. She showed up, warmed up, and let the ball speak. 2 completely different responses. 2 completely different paths under the same pressure. Coming into this matchup, the tension was already boiling. Analysts were split. Some said Reese was overdue for a breakout game that would silence critics. Others said Clark was about to remind the league who truly controlled the narrative. The crowd had already chosen its villain before the opening tip. The boos were planned. The signs were ready. The social media clips were queued up before the game even started. This wasn't just about a win. It was about respect. It was about pride. It was about whose image would dominate the headlines the next morning. For Reese, this represented a chance to flip the script and prove that the noise hadn't broken her. For Clark, it was another test of whether she could walk into chaos and turn it into control. History, pressure, ego, and an entire league watching. Everything that had happened before led to this moment. And what no one inside that arena fully understood yet was that this night wasn't going to strengthen the rivalry the way they expected. It was about to completely shift it. From the opening possession, you could feel that this game wasn't going to be normal. Angel Reese came out with visible fire in her body language. bumping cutters, talking on defense, demanding the ball inside like she had something to prove immediately. Every rebound she grabbed was followed by a stare into the crowd. A reminder that she was still here, still fighting, still dangerous. The boos only made her louder. She fed off the chaos. She wanted this moment. But Caitlin Clark didn't respond with words. She responded with silence and cold execution. The first three she hit from deep didn't shake the building. It shocked it. The second one forced an immediate timeout. The third one shifted the entire energy of the game. What started as a loud anti-Clark crowd suddenly turned uneasy. Every time she touched the ball, they braced for damage. The conflict wasn't just Reese versus Clark anymore. It became emotion versus control. Reese battled inside for every inch, trying to impose her physical will. Clark stretched the floor until the defense broke. Reese was playing with rage. Clark was playing with calculation, and the contrast was brutal. Midway through the first quarter, the two finally collided on a loose ball. Bodies hit the floor. Reese popped up instantly, clapping in Clark's direction. The cameras zoomed in. The crowd erupted. For a split second, it looked like the confrontation everyone had been waiting for. Officials stepped in. Teammates rushed over. But Clark never broke her stare. No trash talk, no reaction, just that calm, unblinking look that made the moment even heavier. Then came the first twist. With the score tight and momentum swinging back and forth, Reese went up strong inside after fighting for deep position. It looked like an easy bucket. Instead, the shot rolled off. She immediately grabbed her shoulder on the landing. The building went quiet for half a second. Not a full injury stoppage. Not dramatic enough to end the night, but enough to change the energy. Reese stayed in, but something shifted. Her movements weren't as explosive. Her second jump slowed. The force was still there, but the rhythm was off. Clark sensed it instantly. The very next possession, she hunted Reese in the pick and roll, forced the switch, stepped back without hesitation. 3 points. No celebration. Just a jog back on defense while the crowd went silent again. Reese demanded the ball the next trip and forced a shot through double coverage, miss. Another rebound for the Fever. Another fast break led by Clark. Another dagger. What was supposed to be a battle of statements suddenly looked like a strategic dismantling. Reese kept fighting. Nobody can take that from her. She muscled her way into rebounds, drew fouls, absorbed contact that would have sent others to the bench. But the emotional edge that once gave her power now looked like weight on her shoulders. You could see her talking to herself between plays, shaking her head after missed chances. Meanwhile, Clark moved like the game had slowed down just for her. And then the real twist hit, late in the second quarter. With the crowd trying desperately to rally behind Reese again, Clark drove hard into the lane, drew 3 defenders, and dished a no-look pass that led directly to another 3. The scoreboard exploded. A double-digit lead. The same crowd that had been booing her all night stood up in stunned silence. Even Reese paused with her hands on her hips, staring at the jumbotron in disbelief. For the first time all season, the narrative inside that building flipped in real time. This wasn't Reese fighting the league anymore. This was Reese chasing a ghost she couldn't touch. And everyone inside that arena felt it. Because the rivalry wasn't just competitive anymore. It was starting to look one-sided. And that scared people who had built an entire season on the idea that these two were still equals. The second half didn't calm anything down. It poured gasoline on a fire that was already out of control. The Fever came out sharp, aggressive, hunting mismatches on every possession. And Caitlin Clark was at the center of it all, like a conductor waving her baton. Every movement she made forced the defense to bend. Every screen created panic. Every dribble felt like the start of something dangerous. And Angel Reese, now carrying the weight of the moment, found herself trapped in a game that refused to slow down for her. Reese tried to flip the momentum with physicality. She attacked the glass like her life depended on it, elbows flying, bodies hitting the floor. She finally converted a tough putback through contact, screaming toward the crowd as if begging them to wake up. For a moment, it worked. The noise returned. The energy surged. The idea of a comeback sparked again. And then Clark shut it down instantly. She answered with one of the coldest stretches of basketball the league has seen all season. A pull-up 3 in transition. A step back over a late contest. Then a drive that drew to defenders before kicking it out for another assist. In less than 2 minutes, the game slipped back into her control. The building didn't erupt this time. It deflated. You could feel the air leaving the room. Reese grew more desperate. The shots became rushed. The moves became forced. She tried to power through double teams that weren't there before. The more she pushed, the more the defense swallowed her up. And that's when the cameras caught something that no one expected to see. Late in the third quarter, after another missed layup under heavy contact, Reese walked back on defense, shaking her head, eyes glassy, lips tight, when the Fever hit yet another three on the other end. The broadcast zoomed in just as Reese slammed the ball to the floor in frustration during the dead ball. Her teammates tried to pull her aside. The officials warned her. The crowd booed again, but this time, it wasn't villain heat. It was disappointment. Then came the reveal that flipped the entire narrative. Between quarters, sideline reporters quietly confirmed what the coaching staff had been trying to hide since the first half. Reese had tweaked her shoulder earlier in the game, not enough to rule her out. Not enough for excuses during the broadcast, but enough to affect her lift, enough to affect her touch, enough to affect everything that made her dangerous. And suddenly, the aggressive body language, the rushed attempts, the emotional swings all made brutal sense. But Clark didn't ease up. If anything, she turned the pressure higher. She started hunting the switch even more relentlessly, dragging Reese into space, forcing her to defend on the perimeter. And every time Reese hesitated for even a fraction of a second, Clark punished it. Another three, another drive, another assist. The scoreboard stretched wider and wider, and with every bucket, the conversation shifted further away from rivalry and closer to domination. By the time the fourth quarter began, the building felt split. Half the crowd sat in stunned silence. The other half stood out of obligation, trying to will something magical into existence for Reese. But the magic was gone. The momentum had left the building and followed Caitlin Clark to the other end of the floor. And then the final blow landed. Clark came off a screen near the logo and pulled from way beyond the arc without hesitation. The ball hung in the air just long enough to feel unfair. Swish, career high, record night. The Fever bench exploded. Her teammates stormed the court on the dead ball, and the same crowd that had booed her with venom earlier in the night could only shake their heads in disbelief. Angel Reese stood under the basket watching the celebration, hands on her knees, chest heaving, eyes locked on the scoreboard. Injured or not, driven or not, emotional or not, the truth was unavoidable now. On this night, under these lights, the gap was undeniable. What started as a rivalry game had turned into a public separation, and the league was about to feel the aftershock of what everyone had just witnessed. The moment the final buzzer sounded, the internet exploded, not slowly, not gradually. It detonated. Within minutes, clips of Caitlin Clark's deepest threes, her no-look assists, and Angel Reese's visible frustration flooded every platform. Twitter turned into a battleground. Instagram comments sections became war zones. TikTok edits with dramatic music racked up millions of views in hours. The debate that once felt competitive now felt lopsided, and the public wasn't holding back anymore. Fans immediately split into two loud, vicious camps. Clark supporters flooded the timeline with victory laps, calling it the final proof, the exclamation point on the rivalry, career high in a hostile building. One post read, "Booed all night and still dropped history." Another clip zoomed in on Reese after the logo, 3, with the caption, "This is what separation looks like." The phrase, "It's not even close anymore," started trending by midnight. Reese's defenders fired back just as aggressively. They pointed to the shoulder tweak that was quietly confirmed after the game. They broke down missed rotations, lack of spacing, and how the Sky's offense collapsed without consistent guard play. She was battling through pain while Clark was unguarded for half the night. One viral post argued. Others accused the broadcast of switching narratives mid-game, first hyping the rivalry, then framing it as domination once the score widened. Former players entered the chat next, and that's when the temperature rose even higher. Some praised Clark's composure under pressure, calling it one of the coldest road performances by a rookie in modern WNBA history. Others showed sympathy for Reese, pointing out that this level of scrutiny can crush even the strongest competitors. A few, however, weren't gentle at all. One retired vet flatly stated that confidence without consistent production is dangerous territory in this league. And the clip made the rounds instantly. Even analysts who usually stay neutral took clear sides. Morning shows ran the highlights on loop. One panel called it the night the rivalry officially shifted from narrative to reality. Another argued that this game would do more for Clark's MVP case than any stat line alone ever could. Every phrasing choice felt intentional. Every graphic felt loaded. Sponsors noticed too. Clark's name surged in search trends. Her jersey sales spiked again. Endorsement watchers quietly hinted that multiple performance-based bonuses had likely been triggered off this single night alone. Meanwhile, Reese's branding took a different turn. Support flooded in, but so did ridicule. The duality was brutal. Half the internet defended her toughness. The other half turned her frustration into memes before the post-game interviews even aired by the next morning. Chicago radio was already questioning leadership, rotations, and accountability. Indiana media, on the other hand, was openly discussing playoff implications and whether Clark had already transcended rookie expectations entirely. What had been billed as a rivalry moment morphed into a league-wide referendum on star power, pressure, and who truly owns the spotlight right now. And somewhere inside all that noise, one quiet truth settled in. This game didn't just shift perception, it hardened it. People weren't debating potential anymore. They were reacting to impact. And the reactions were louder, sharper, and more divided than ever before. Just when the story felt finished, when the clips had already gone viral and the verdict across the internet seemed locked in, a final layer emerged that completely flipped the narrative on its head. Long after the arena emptied and the cameras stopped rolling, whispers began spreading from inside the locker rooms. Not from fans, not from analysts, from people who were actually there. According to multiple quiet reports, Angel Reese didn't just leave that game frustrated. She left it shaken. Team sources leaked that the shoulder issue was far more serious than the broadcast ever revealed. Trainers had been evaluating her between quarters. Pain management was already in motion before halftime, and despite that, Reese reportedly insisted on staying in the game, not for stats, not for optics, but because she refused to sit while Clark was still on the floor. That changes everything. The missed layups, the rushed decisions, the visible emotional swings, they weren't just pressure, they were pain layered on top of pride, and suddenly, the same moments that were being mocked online took on a darker tone. This wasn't just a player getting outplayed, this was a competitor refusing to step away from the fight, even when her body was failing her. But the real twist came after the locker room doors closed. Multiple witnesses claimed, voices were raised inside the Sky's private area, not screaming, not chaos, but tension, direct words, hard truths, and at the center of it all was Reese. Some say she took responsibility, others claim she challenged the coaching decisions that left her exposed on the perimeter against Clark again and again. No official statement was released, no confrontation was confirmed publicly, but the silence afterward spoke louder than any quote. Meanwhile, across the hallway, Caitlin Clark was doing the opposite. No celebration tour, no trash talk, no victory statements dripping with confidence. Instead, reports say she kept replaying the missed turnover near the end of the third quarter in her head. While the world debated her MVP case, she was reportedly in the training room asking for film times. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. One star dealing with the emotional wreckage of a brutal night, the other already dissecting flaws in a record performance. And then came the final bombshell. Insiders now claim that the next scheduled matchup between these two teams has been flagged internally by league executives as a potential national showcase moment. TV slots are being discussed. Promotional angles shifted overnight. This wasn't just a rivalry anymore. It had become a ratings weapon. Which raises the real question. What happens when these two meet again? Does Angel Reese return fully healthy, fueled by humiliation, carrying a chip so heavy it changes the way she plays the game? Or does the pressure finally snap something that can't be repaired mid-season? And on the other side, does Caitlin Clark continue this surgical dominance? Or does the league finally adjust in a way that slows her rise? What looked like a definitive ending may have only been the beginning of something far bigger, far uglier, and far more personal than anyone expected. The scoreboard settled that night. The crowd went home. The clips went viral. But the rivalry didn't end, it evolved. And if what's brewing behind the scenes is even half as intense as what insiders are hinting at, then the next chapter won't just be about basketball, it will be about survival. Now it's your turn. After everything you just witnessed, after the records, the frustration, the silence, and the aftermath, the real question is simple. Whose side are you on right now? Do you believe this night proved that Caitlin Clark has officially separated herself from the pack? Or do you believe Angel Reese is about to come back with the most dangerous response run of the season? Because this rivalry is no longer about highlights alone. It's about pride, pressure, public opinion, and who can survive when the spotlight burns the hottest. The next matchup won't be played just on the court. It's going to be played in headlines, locker rooms, and the minds of every fan watching. Drop your take in the comments. Was this domination, or just one chapter in a longer war? Should Reese sit back and reset, or double down and attack the rematch with everything she's got? And is Clark already in the MVP conversation, or is that still too early to crown? If you want the next breakdown the moment it drops, make sure you're subscribed, because the next time these two meet, the internet might not survive it.